doing less and being more is most probably the number one thing which will radically improve your horse training and your relationship with your horse. So let's elaborate a little bit on that. We as humans, when we are little children, we go to school at a certain age. And when we start going to school, very quickly we realize that we have to do a lot of things. We need to learn, we need to repeat stuff quite often until we're good at it. So, very early on in childhood, we are kind of trained, our brain is trained into the habit of repeating stuff and doing a lot to be good. So, if it makes sense or not is another discussion. But that trains how we approach life very often. So, later on in life, we have to do a lot of things. We have our household to handle, we have a job, we need to take care of stuff, we need to do groceries, things like that. So it's a lot about doing, 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 doing. You know, all of us know our beloved to-do lists. So we basically switch a little bit into the direction of being a human doing more than a human being. And I mean, we know that. So it's like when you really look at your everyday life, how often do you take time to just be? Good question. So when we look at our horses, that's very different. Horses, as prey animals in a herd, they live in a herd, they're social in their environment, and most of the day they are grazing and being. So a horse has no to do. So as long as there's no predator coming along, most of the time the horse is being in the here and now, in the present moment. It's not thinking of the past, it's not thinking of the future, it only exists right now. It's being. So when we meet our horses, it is very often, what I see very often is that immediately we think of what we want from them, which goal we have. So when we're interacting with them, we are kind of micromanaging movements while riding, or we are doing like correcting positions. We are like the whole time doing something on them. And that's understandable as well, because when we learn writing, most of the time our writing schools are very similar than to our normal schools, children's schools, because I mean, there might be exceptions, but most people who learn writing, if it's as a child or later, you go into writing lessons. You don't have your own horse most of the time at first, and so you're on a type of school horse and pony club or whatever, and you're told what to do to ride. So you're explained like how to apply the aids, how your body, what you should do with your body, what you should make the horse do, and all these things. Um, Very rarely you start off your horse person journey by learning to be. So I think the number one thing is becoming aware of yourself and your horse before you do anything with them. What do I mean by that? One thing is horses are animals which communicate with extremely subtle signs, like they're not like us, loud talking and so on. They have very subtle signs within each other. So they are extremely sensitive, and to really connect with them, we need to learn to observe them so that we are capable of really recognizing those signs. The problem is, as we're so focused on what we want to do, we miss the moment where we can observe them because we can only observe them right now, in this moment. And to do that, we must be present. We must be present. So as long as we are doing something and having our agenda in our head, we are incapable of meeting them in that moment and observing them and really realizing what it is they are doing, needing, and so on, what state they're in. So one thing is we need to observe before we do anything. And to observe, it starts with being aware of ourselves. Before I observe my horse, I must observe myself. Horses are extremely sensitive and their nervous system is extremely fast. It's actually faster than ours. So your horse as a prey animal, which is the whole time scanning the environment for potential threats, your horse recognizes your state before you do. Let that sink in. So very often we are unaware during our days how we really feel, how we really are, what state we're in. And so when we meet our horses, we think, oh, it's strange. They turned away in the pasture when we wanted to grab them or whatever. They seem more stressed today. And actually, when we step back and we look at, wait a second, how's my state today? We realize, oh, I'm a lot more stressed. I'm actually not breathing really. Actually, I feel a little anxious or stuff like that. Or I'm angry as well. So frustrated, sad, whatever. I could come up with a whole list here. I mean, you could be happy as well, for sure. And your horse will know how you feel before you do. So it's very important to be aware of the fact that you cannot fake your state in front of your horse. You might fake it in front of other people or yourself, but you're not capable of faking it in front of your horse because your horse is so sensitive. Horses feel your heartbeat. They scan your breathing pattern. They know how to speak nervous system better than you do because you're unaware of it. So the horse knows your state before you even realized it. And so that means you cannot fake your state. So, for example, whenever you're hearing, sometimes I hear in horsemanship lessons or whatever, like groundwork lessons, I hear like, take up your space, show them where your space is there, these dominance ideas, whatever. If you are afraid, your horse knows. So if you are afraid or stressed and you start to try to show your horse that you stand your ground or whatever people might have told you in the past, you're sending really, really confusing signals to your horse because your horse says, wait a second, she's afraid and now her body language is acting different. So that will confuse a horse more. And it might even lead to a horse being stressed about that. Um, so it would be better if you show up in the state you're really in. But for that, you need to know which state you're really in. So you need to train to be aware of yourself first, even before you start going and wanting to establish a good connection with your horse. And this is what I see very often. Nowadays, I find it very good that we have a broad movement towards really creating good relationships, like people thinking about what is important for horses that they feel good with us humans. What went wrong in the past? What can we improve about it? Relational horsemanship, all of those words, we find them all over the world. But before you connect with your horse, you have to connect with yourself. Because if you are not capable of standing it to be with yourself and to be yourself in the state you're in, you're incapable of truly connecting with your horse. And so I want to encourage you to really take time to create awareness for yourself first. And then when you know where you're at, feel yourself, realize this is my state, this is where I'm at today, then you can go and observe your horse and check, how's my horse today? And this is where you meet each other. This is where you create relationship. This is where you can start successful training if you want to. Maybe you have a day where you choose today is not a training day, today is a being day, and we're just going to hang around together. That's great and very often I think the better choice. But as long as you don't know yourself enough and have spent enough present time being and sensing yourself, for example, you will not know how you react under stress. So if you get to know yourself, you know, for example, okay, this is how I react when I feel stressed. This is how I react when a situation with my horse is not going how I want it to go. Oh, that's how I react to that. You know, this is where you can really start changing something about your training, about your relationship with your horse, and all of that. So I want to encourage you, spend time doing less, being more, observe before you take action, and really make yourself as important in the relationship with your horse than your horse, because both of you make the relationship. So enjoy your horse time, doing less, being more. And if you found this helpful, feel free to share and don't forget to subscribe.